All right, maybe in the interest of time, because I know we have a lot of presenters today, we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you that weren't at the previous meeting, I'm Ben Achalier. I am Associate Director of Regulatory and Trial Operations in the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research. Aaron Mobley, who is usually leading these meetings, is the Director of CREST, and CREST is actually moving building locations today. So he may show up a little bit later, but he's not here now. So welcome everyone to the November Clinical Research Connections meeting. I think we'll start with an additional, we have some questions to get a sense of who's in the audience. I think we did this the past couple of times too. It's nice for us to get a sense of who from campus is attending these meetings. So I think this time we just have a couple of questions. And I think Natasha, are you able to, there we go. So the first one is just about what role in research you serve. All right, it looks like it's been, oh. All right, it looks like it hasn't moved. So maybe we'll move on to the next question. And the next question. There we go. How long have you been involved in clinical research at the university? So specific to your work here at the University of Colorado, how long have you been here? That was a lot of 5+ years. It's good to see. All right, awesome. I think that might be everyone for that as well. So let's move on to our first presenter. Katie Nearing is here to talk about her work and some of her plans with older adult research studies.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you all for the opportunity to share a new initiative that we are starting here at the University of Colorado Ranchos Medical Campus. I did prepare some slides mostly to keep me on track and on time. So I'm going to share those with you now. All right. Let me just reorganize here just a little bit. Okay. So I wanted to share with you all about a new grant that our campus has received from the National Institute on Aging at NIH. The grant is an R24, so that's a bit of an unusual grant mechanism that you might not hear very often, but that type of grant supports research infrastructure, whether it's establishing new research infrastructure or enhancing existing research infrastructure. The RFA that we responded to specifically called for innovative approaches to recruiting and retaining diverse older adults in clinical trials. Submitting this application was very much a team effort, and so I want to acknowledge some of those that you all know well and who are on the call that have been a part of this. So first and foremost, Allison Lakin, I believe that I saw that she's on the call, has really been a champion for this initiative. Ben, I appreciate the support that you've always given this initiative as well, and Aaron's ongoing support and leadership as well. And then Natasha, who is kind of behind the scenes working her magic, is contributing her marketing and communications expertise to this initiative. So again, very much a team effort. So the application that we put forward is called Workforce Development Engages Diverse Older Adults to catalyze innovative approaches for enhanced recruitment and retention. That is a mouthful, and I'll go through some of the facets of this initiative for you all today. This is a 3-year award, and we were just funded earlier this fall, so we're just getting started. I'm serving as the PI for our institution's R24, but as I mentioned, this is very much a team effort with partners both on campus and in the community. And I list my affiliations here mostly just to highlight those additional, some of those additional partners. So the larger context for this initiative is this new policy, which I anticipate you all are very familiar with, that it requires the inclusion of individuals across the lifespan. So specifically in relation to older adults, this new policy required that all applications for funding provide a plan for how they would include older adults. And of course, this is human research subjects, how they would include older adults. And they also had to provide scientifically or clinically justifiable reasons for excluding older adults. And our institution has struggled to meet this directive. So in 2019, we looked at a full year of data for 2019. And of course, that was the last year of data that we really have to capture our research operations at full capacity before things were disrupted by COVID. But at that point in 2019, only about a quarter of our adult clinical trials enrolled even one adult over age 50. And for those clinical trials that did enroll successfully older adults, we did see that those participants roughly reflected the state demographics in terms of race and ethnicity. When we looked at age strata, however, again, and these are trials that were successfully enrolling older adults, we saw a sharp decline in the enrollment of older adults starting about age 75. And what's ironic is that that's one of the fastest growing age groups in Colorado. In terms of diversity in Colorado, I think we have to think about geographic diversity, particularly rurality. Nearly 75% of Colorado is rural, with the 10 oldest counties based on median age, all being rural. By 2050, the number of older adults in Colorado is expected to double. So that's a projected increase of almost 2 million people. And racial, ethnic, minoritized populations in Colorado are projected to grow 30% to 4 million. So obviously in Colorado, we have a tremendous opportunity to engage populations underrepresented in clinical trials, both as research, part of our research workforce, as well as trial participants. So here are our specific aims for our project. And I will focus just on aim 1 today. I hope that you all will invite me back at some point in the future to share more about aim 2. In terms of aim 1, this aim is to increase the recruitment and retention of diverse older adults in clinical trials by training diverse older adult peers to fulfill unique and impactful roles as older adult research specialists. So these older adults, once trained and hired as part of our research workforce, will serve essentially as PRAs, but fulfilling very specific roles. So for example, these older adult research specialists will be facilitating the informed consent process as one of their roles. Our hypothesis is that when the informed consent process considers and is responsive to the context of older adults' lived histories and their current realities, there may be less decisional conflict in relation to the decision to participate in a clinical trial. and therefore increased retention over time. Other roles of older adult research specialists may include education and training of staff and research faculty, specifically in relation to special considerations for the inclusion of older adults in research. We also anticipate that these older adult research will catalyze innovation in terms of how we do recruitment and retention, and I will talk more about that in just a moment. I will go ahead and talk or just share with you AIM 2. With AIM 2, our plan is to increase recruitment and retention in clinical trials through research roadshows that take research and research teams off campus and into rural communities across Colorado, as well as in our neighboring communities at the adjacent to the Anschutz Medical Campus. To engage geographically and culturally diverse communities with engagement sustained through local partnerships and tailored communication strategies that can keep the communication going in a bi-directional or reciprocal way. So that doesn't start and end with a research study. There would be an infrastructure to sustain that engagement and communication. Just to tell you a little bit more about AIM 1, the plan is to train a total of 5 cohorts of older adult research specialists over the course of 3 years. So 5 cohorts over 3 years. The cohorts would be about 10 to 12 older adults in each of those cohorts. So they're intentionally small. And I'll talk more about why we want to keep those cohorts small in just a moment. But the goal ultimately is to recruit, train, and hire between 45 and 50 older adults over the 3-year period. So our programmatic theory of change, in other words, how we see AIM 1 being a catalyst for change, in terms of supporting our research and other missions on our campus. By diversifying the workforce, we hope that we will increase capacity to recruit and retain diverse older adult peers to clinical trials, thereby increasing the relevance or generalizability of research study findings, particularly for populations that are underrepresented in trials now and are differentially impacted by health disparities, thereby contributing or promoting health equity. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a sense of what the training will look like. And we're thinking about this as a training sequence and have been very intentional about trying to think about providing older adults who might go through this pathway with benefits at every step along the way, because this is a significant commitment that will probably span about 5 years, not 5 years, 5 months from start to finish. And so if the life circumstances of an older adult should shift at some point through this sequence and they need to essentially leave this pathway, they will take with them something of value. So the training sequence starts with computer literacy training if the older adult is interested in that, and that's being offered by one of our community-based partners, Senior Planet. Also, I wrote into the proposal funding for laptops and assistive devices that would be available to older adults on loan, again, to facilitate equity and access to this opportunity. The real key facets of the training sequence are the health navigator training and the research specialist training. So that's why those boxes are the biggest here. We wanted to have health navigator training serve as a foundation for the research specialist training, as there is some evidence that those serving in health as health navigators or patient navigators have been very effective in engaging diverse populations in research. And so we wanted to honor that emerging evidence. and also an existing partnership that we have with Families Leading Change, who offers a recognized health navigator training. So again, once older adults complete the health navigator training and the associated assessment, they're leaving with a credential, and they are also that qualifies them to continue into our research specialist training. While they're waiting for the outcome of their assessment, we'll make available guided campus tours, talk a little bit more about the structure and organization of the research specialist training, and talk about some of the other initiatives to give people a sense of the culture and climate here on campus. For the sake of time, I just want to highlight for you. I'm sorry, let me move this. I apologize for that. Just wanted to highlight some of the aspects of the research specialist training that we will offer as part of this training. So it will be competency based. We've aligned each of the modules with the Association for Clinical Research Professionals competencies, focusing on domain 2 specifically, which focuses on care of patients, human subjects, protections, safety, and the conduct of clinical trials. One of the training requirements will be team-based projects, and this is the opportunity for smaller groups that comprise each cohort. So this would be 3 or 4 older adults doing a problem-based, solution-focused project that invites them to apply their new learning from the training as well as their lived experience to tackle a specific problem or challenge related to the engagement, recruitment, retention of older adults. And this is where I anticipate a lot of the innovation might surface, and we can continue to develop these ideas together and make these as resources to other researchers and research teams on our campus. So I'm very excited about that piece. And then our last slide here, other aspects of the research specialist training here on campus would be a community immersion experience. So actually this would be out in the community in different communities. And I hope that that'll provide an opportunity for us to really explore social determinants of health and how those constrain life choices and opportunities, including the opportunity and choice to whether to participate in research or not. So we can talk about that and explore those issues. And I also, as a medical anthropologist, I'm excited about those opportunities for exploring cross-cultural perspectives on aging that the older adult research specialists can then apply as they facilitate the informed consent process with individuals and families coming from different backgrounds. And then finally, my last point is we're really wanting to build a mentorship support network for and with these older adults. And that's one of the reasons that we really wanted to pursue a cohort model with the training. And I want to continue to bring older adult research specialists together as cohorts once they complete their training and are hired. And then I hope that connection to groups like your group will also help them have places and spaces for connection and to support their sense of belonging on campus and in their goals. And with that, I will stop there.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Katie. Do we have any questions for Katie? Okay.
One of the questions I see in the chat is what age is older? For the older adult research specialists, we're really prioritizing older adults who are interested in pursuing this opportunity who are 60 years of age or older.
Okay, thanks.
Katie, do we want to share some of the poll questions with the group as well?
I'm worried that I've gone over time and I don't want to squeeze the other presenters for their time.
There's one more question that popped up in the chat real quick, Katie. It says, this is a very interesting project. What defines success? You want to speak to that?
So I'm thinking about success both short-term and long-term. So short-term is that we have older adults from diverse backgrounds who were interested in this as a potential workforce development opportunity and encore career opportunity. So we have that interest from older adults across all walks of life. And success too is not only the interest in seeing the completion rate, but also that we are providing a rigorous training that prepares those older adults well for their roles. Because these are going to be older adults, the way we're envisioning this, that won't have had any background in research previously, so that we're able to impart the content that prepares them well for those roles, but in ways that are truly accessible and that they can have success with as learners. And then, of course, I would like to see, and I'm going to work very, very hard to see that all of those who complete this training are actually hired at our university. That's something that keeps me up at night, but that would be success, is if we can find a good fit both for them and their affinities for different kinds of roles and the needs that we have on our campus. So finding that fit.
Okay, awesome. Well, with that, let's move on to the second presentation. Thanks so much, Kate. So we have Jill and Brett both here, and they're going to talk about HGT SOPs for clinical teams.
Yeah, hi, I'm Brett Halterwanger. I'm actually the new biosafety officer here at the University of Colorado on Anschutz Middle Campus. And what I wanted to briefly go over is, HGT protocols, and then the development of what I'm calling an HGT specific SOP for working with these materials in clinical trials, and sort of why I created this SOP. So, as everybody's probably aware, human gene transfer protocols, or HGT protocols, these actually have exponentially grown over the past 6-7 years. There's actually 1,300 products currently being studied in various stages. Just in 2020, there are 1,300 HGT trials going on. And what these are is they're using recombinant DNA, viral vectors, or modified cells, either like CAR T cells or modified bacteria, to deliver a therapeutic to people. And because it's recombinant DNA, it falls under the NIH guidelines. So if you're working with a trial that has HGT in it, then you need to submit a protocol to the IBC office, and Jill is the one that you would work with to submit that. When I got here, one of the things I noticed when I was reviewing these HGT protocols was the SOP that was being submitted to me was for chemotherapeutics. And the risk profile of a biological material is quite different than that of a chemotherapeutic, because not all biological materials have the same risk associated with them. So the things that we always look for when we're reviewing these in terms of risk is, obviously, from an IVC standpoint, we're looking at the risk to the staff, people handling it. What if there's an accidental exposure through a needle stick or a splash, or does the agent shed from the patient, and is there exposure potential from shedding, or even handling the biohazardous waste. So a human gene transfer SOP is not just for the pharmacist preparing the materials in the pharmacy, but it's also for the nurses and the clinician staff who are going to be administering the material and maybe handling biohazardous waste after the materials administered. And so we want to make sure that all the staff are aware of what the risks are, and what, if there was a potential exposure, what would be the risk, things like bloodborne pathogens, if it's a human T cell, or would there be seroconversion if it's a viral vector or something. So the current SOPs are very much, I think, geared towards the pharmacy and the preparation, not so much what would happen with the administration or what would happen if there's a spill. Because again, if there's a spill, different disinfectants work against different agents. So something that might work against adenoviral vectors might not work against lenti or something like that. So I created a specific SOP just for these human gene transfer procedures. And I don't know, I don't know if you want me to try and share it. Let's share the screen and share it. I can do that. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. So hopefully people can see this, but basically, I mean, I tried to make it so it's basically a plug and play. You just have to add a little bit of information about what the pre-exposure requirements are, if there are any staff restrictions, and then the type of PPE that you would use. So it's actually a checkbox, you know. And I tried to make this as easy as I could for the pharmacy and for the clinicians to fill out and submit to us. And I have one specifically for like viral vectors and then one for like the genetically modified cells. Let me see if I can.
Is anyone in stop or just
So the I can let Jill briefly discuss like the submission process. Like we're actually working to streamline our submission process for human gene transfer as well. But that'll be taking a little bit of time to get going.
Yeah. So just so that everybody's aware, we are implementing use of these, the SOPs. As Brett said, she's working to make them a little bit better or more applicable to the specific needs of some of the studies that we have coming through. But one of the things that we're going to be doing is streamlining how our IBC applications are put together, because as some of you may know, right now it's set up so that you have to email me. I'm Jill Garvey, I'm the IBC coordinator. Sorry, didn't say that. So right now it's set up so that you have to email me to get those applications, because we have 3 different applications based on the type of investigational product that y'all are dealing with. And we're going to streamline that into one, and then that will go out to you with that application and with the SOP that Brett has been spending a lot of time getting streamlined and improved for you. And the ultimate goal is to reduce to just those 2 required items, plus, you know, all of the supplemental files that are part of the application for a clinical trial, including like the protocol and the IB. But that way you only have a couple items from us that you need to fill out for our institution specifically. And then everything else that you have will just be the items that you get from your sponsors and from the clinical administration teams that you're dealing with already. And then all of that comes to me via email, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, and so these specific SOPs are not unique. There's multiple external IBCs that if you're not associated with a university or a hospital, that small clinics in the US might use. And during COVID, that exploded because you had all these small clinics submitting HRT protocols to these external IBCs. And this is the best way we have of determining and making sure everybody in that clinic understands the risks associated with the agent. And I have been meeting with the pharmacy. I met with the pharmacy at UCH because they want something that they don't have to fill out at all. And I mean, we can maybe create that, but it might be a couple of different kinds. Because like I said, unlike a chemotherapeutic agent, the different viral vectors or the different biologicals have different properties and need to be treated differently. So I'm going to do my best to create templates, and then they can take those to their SOP committees and generate it on their letterheads if they want to, or they can just use ours. It's all up to them. So if anybody have any questions or comments, we're happy to answer them.
it does not look like there are any questions in the chat. So thanks so much for that.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions or concerns, they can always reach out to me by email as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. All right, and then we'll move on to our final presentation. I think Wumi, you have some FAQs that you're gonna present.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you all were able to attend the town halls that occurred yesterday. I won't waste your time with repeating those slides again from yesterday. What I thought I would do today is just come and answer any additional questions that may come up. And specifically, I'm referring to the personnel, Research Personnel Initiative Project, otherwise known as the PRA and the Senior PRA Transition Project. And so this project is transitioning our PRA and Senior PRA employees to the university staff classifications. There's a lot of information that's been built out and put on the School of Medicine intranet site. There's also a frequently asked questions section on this. So all of the questions that came in yesterday's town halls, we also plan to update those on the FAQs as well. And then also the slide deck that we went through yesterday is also available on that internet website, as well as all the job descriptions and et cetera. So I really just wanted to dedicate the time for any additional questions that maybe anybody wasn't able to ask during the town halls yesterday.
I actually didn't know about that town hall, unfortunately. Would it be possible to send a link to that website in the chat or in an email so that we can kind of access it and look for that information?
Absolutely. Let me put that in the chat now. This is the file path to the School of Medicine intranet site. And then on that main page, there's a block that says PRA and Senior PRA Transition Project. And that's where you'll want to be, and that's where you'll find all the information. There's also one final town hall that will be on November 30th. Same content and mostly just question and answers, but that'll be November 30th at 12 p.m. And there's also a flyer to that so that you can have the Zoom link on the internet website as well.
Thank you.
Of course. If you think of any questions after reviewing the website, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My name's on the screen, so it's just olawumi.ogunwo@cuanshoots.edu. And I guess I'll hand it back to you, Ben, if there aren't any questions.
Okay, sure. I think it's interesting. There's a lot of information on the website and the FAQs as far as like timelines and things like that. So definitely take a look at that. And if you have questions, reach out to me.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've gone through our presentations for today. I don't know if we want to go, Katie, do you want to go back now that we do have time to present?
Sure. We did have, I think, 4 full questions for you all. Natasha, is it possible to, thank you. Here we go.
We're definitely getting less participation at the polls at the end of the meeting than at the beginning. If everyone can take a minute and just answer, about how interested you would be in serving as a mentor to one of the older adult research specialists.
And the reason that I was interested in getting some feedback on these questions is it has to do with some of the key points I made related to that last slide about really trying to connect the older adult research specialists with our campus community, both during their training and after they're hired on our campus, and wanting to know what who might like to be involved in supporting them as they go through their training. So thank you for that time to participate in those. I don't actually see the full.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
There we go.
So,
Okay.
yeah, if you guys cannot see the poll, I think there's a polls little dial button on the bottom of your screen. So make sure that you can see the poll. I think, Natasha, can we move on to question 2?
I think that we've got responses.
There we go.
to
No,
all
they're there. Yeah, they are. They're all together. That's right.
Yeah.
I see them now.
Well, thank you all again for the opportunity to share about this new initiative with this group and for your response to the poll.
Excellent. And then just a reminder that there is the Clinical Research Connections email. If you do have thoughts on topics for a future meeting, or if you think that you have something that you would like to present to this group, feel free to reach out to that email. It's monitored by a group of us. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. Natasha, is there anything I'm forgetting?
Just that with the holidays approaching, the next meeting will be in January. So to keep an eye out as information will be forthcoming about those dates. And you can always refer to the CREST website. They'll be updated as far as the dates and login and registration information there as well. And I'll put that information in the chat.
All right, perfect. All right. Are there any other questions for any of the presenters? Okay. If not, then we will see you all in January. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.